Hey there, I'm Lisa,
And I'm Chris.
and we're a Knit Sheep. How's everybody doing? Thank you for joining us today. What are we talking about this week, Chris?
I don't know. What are we talking about? I don't know. I have a bag of stuff in front of me. I'll just pull things out and talk about them.
Okay, great. Me too, actually. So you know what? I'm gonna start off. I have made some progress on my sweater, although I have to confess I had a tiny little mishap. Let's just say. You see, what happened was I would have been very caught up in this Chinese drama.
I was wondering if you were going to tell that part of the story.
Yes, I'm going to tell the whole truth. Not going to hide it. I was very, very caught up in this Chinese drama called My Heroic Husband, and I hear that there is going to be a second season. So yay!
Because as soon as she finished it, she went online to a Chinese drama forum to get confirmation that there would be a second season.
You remember when you were saying you were watching with me the other night, and you were saying that I don't see how they're going to wrap up all these threads
in the number of episodes that were left.
Yeah, but they did. But they cast out new lines, and the new lines are fascinating. So if you want a fun, lighthearted drama, do check out My Heroic Husband. It is on
Amazon Prime.
She
doesn't know where she watches anything.
Not a damn much. Sometimes I actually have to look through. It's terrible. You can also catch the episodes on YouTube. So they're super fun. And on YouTube, you can go into the settings and make your subtitles enormous. 300%. So don't worry about it. You'll be able to read them. So what happened back to my sweater. It's coming along every week. I get a little bit more progress on my trees, and they're really looking like trees now. I'm so excited.
And this is the Alaska sweater.
This is
Camille Descoteaux?
Yeah, this is my Alaska sweater by Camille Descoteaux. So what happened was I was diligently beavering away, just diligently knitting, and I have my chart. I have it clipped to a clipboard, and I have a piece of washi tape that I move up as I complete a line of the chart. Well, you see, what happened was I had reached a pivotal moment in my Chinese drama. It was like serious.
There were many pivotal moments.
There were.
I'm surprised.
You never know
the error you had with your sweater.
How many pivotal moments could come up in a drama. But okay. And instead of moving it up one line of the chart and checking off the row that I just finished, I moved it up 2 and proceeded to knit the third line. But the tops of my trees are very irregular. So I decided to just go ahead and skip those 2 lines because the trees will still look good. I was looking at them. I was like, you know what? There is no need to go back and undo all of that. So I checked off the 2 lines I skipped, and I moved my tape. I was like, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
So
Make
that.
It work designer.
Make it work designer. Sometimes, yes, you made a little error, but it's not going to affect the function of the sweater. If those 2 rows, if I feel like I'm missing some length, I'll just make my ribbing 2 rows longer. That's all. But I really like how it's coming along. I'm like, yes, I can see my little forest growing. And this is what it's looking like on the inside. This is the ladder Back Jacquard I've been telling you guys about. I have been doing it as loosely as possible because when I wash my swatch and sent it through the dryer, everything tightened up a lot. So I wanted to build in as much looseness as possible to avoid puckering. But the whole point of doing ladder Back Jacquard is this. Look how everything stretches rather than the part of the sweater that is not ferile, not stranded, stretching, and then the part that is stranded being stiff. I built a second fabric on the back that is just anchored to the first fabric by these stitches that run up like a ladder. And shazam, everything is bouncy and stretchy. And that's what I aim to be my finished product, that everything stretches nicely. Now, as these trees get thicker and wider towards the bottom, I might switch out the ladder back for just regular stranded knitting because the stitches will be much closer together. But I don't know. I might keep going because what I did was I set up a ladder approximately every 5 to 6 stitches so that I would never have to drag my yarn too far. And I might have to set up a ladder for the green. See, my initial ladder was the brown because my green was just continuing around and around. And now I'm getting spaces in the green. So I think I'm going to set up a green ladder in addition to the brown ladder.
And what will that do?
I will have nice stretchy floats in the green yarn too.
Okay.
But that's where we're at with that. So I'm pretty happy with how it's coming along.
How many more inches do you have left to go?
Let me see. In inches, I think I have about 4 inches.
It is a very scientific method you're using. She's over here like, yeah, about this much.
Yeah, about that much. Like 3 inches.
Okay.
What do you got?
So I'm still working on my vest. I am close to finish. So I think the last time I showed it, I had just like a few inches of the front, but I have now finished the front. There's some neck shaping there. And what I did was, so this is based on a vintage pattern that I found on MaryMaxim.com that I think is just called open-sided vest.
Yeah.
But I changed the stitch pattern. So I'm doing half double crochets and then doubles. I'm alternating those 2 rows, doubles in the 3rd loop, because I thought this little, the raised stitches you get from working in the 3rd loop would complement the horizontal stripes really nicely. And it does. Yes. I really like how that looks together. That stitch pattern in this yarn. This is Colorburst from Universal. Mm-hmm. It's a new yarn they came out with this year. And it's 65-35 wool and acrylic. And, we were just talking last night about some bad experiences my mom and I had with acrylic yarn.
Yeah.
I wore an acrylic dress in July and it nearly ended my life. That is how I found out exactly what people meant when they said acrylic doesn't breathe. Mm-hmm. So I realized I just have to work with acrylic differently and make projects that can't suffocate me.
Well, yeah.
So this is going to be completely open. It's only 35% acrylic, first of all. It's going to be completely open on the sides. This only gets seamed at the waistband and the shoulders.
Okay.
And so the sides will be completely open. And I started the back. And I had like almost half the back done when I realized I had made a mistake, but it wasn't because I was watching a drama. It was because, I was just I wasn't following a pattern. I was just kind of making it up. So I had to decide the number of stitches for myself. And I didn't write down what I did when I made the front. So when I made the back, I just did a little increase from the waistband to the first row of the body because I just wanted to change the shape a little bit and then also get a little edging along the sides so that it just be a little bit wider in the body than it is at the waistband. And I increased 6 stitches on the front, but only 4 on the back. So when I counted the stitches and it wasn't the same number as it had been on the front, I was like, how did I drop this many stitches? And I realized I didn't drop them. They were just never there.
Yeah.
And it was 2 stitches, right? Mm-hmm. And it wouldn't have been a big deal. But once I knew, I couldn't pretend not to know. And I was just worried that, I don't know, it might look different from the front and the back might look different. I don't know who would have been able to see a difference of 2 stitches.
Yeah.
But I knew it was going to drive me nuts.
You know what? That can actually be a feature. Like if you have a round belly like me, you do want your front to be a little bit wider than your back because you got more going across the front.
Yeah, no, I wanted them the same.
Yeah.
I wanted them the same. So I ripped out, I had, like I said, about half the back done, and I ripped it back all the way to the waistband just to put in those 2 stinking stitches.
And can I tell you something? That's the difference between her and me.
Yeah, when you were saying, I'm just going to go anyway with the trees, I was just like, oh, really?
Yep. I will do pretty much whatever I got to do to avoid ripping out a whole bunch. And she and my mom will reduce a thing
To
back
ashes.
to string. Okay. No joke.
I can't even explain why. Just knowing just kind of bothered me, but it did. So I took the whole thing out, and if I hadn't, I would have probably been able to finish the back of the vest today.
Yeah.
So I just gave myself another day or two of work, but I think it'll still be done by like the weekend. I'll still be able. I might be able to wear it at the store at some point this week if I get it all blocked in time. But and should tell you, this yarn is not the best frog. It sticks to itself. It's not super washable, and it's not merino.
Yeah.
So it's not that super soft, smooth wool. So just know if you're going to work with Colorburst, it's a great yarn, and I recommend it highly. But it is not the best frog. So just be prepared for that. Just go slow as you're ripping it out, and it'll be fine. I didn't get it like all tangled or anything.
Yeah.
But here's the back.
With the 2 stitches.
Yes, with those 2 stitches, that makes all the difference in the world now.
Yes, indeed.
But I'm almost done.
I love how this is working out. The
It's
color
beautiful.
flow is gorgeous.
It's absolutely beautiful, and you can't see this in the ball at all. I mean, I knew it was going to be multicolored. I just didn't know how the colors would play out.
I have a complete ball now. You want me to go get mine
No,
so they
you
can
put
see?
a picture in.
Okay. I'll put a picture in so you can see what the ball looks like.
But we had someone do a sample for us, a knitted sample, and it striped so beautifully. I was like, oh, I must make something with this yarn.
Yeah, I know. I only have that ball because I snatched up a ball. I was like, I really like that. And I was like, I think I'm going to make a shawl out of that.
It's so nice.
So I'm going to do a Stephen West shawl that has contrast those stripes with a solid yarn.
And I chose these colors just because I think it'll look good with blue jeans.
Yeah.
So going into fall,
absolutely.
it'll just be really cute to wear. So that's what's going on with my project. It's almost done, and then I'll probably spend some time working on the Impossible Dress.
So have you thought about how you're going to block it? Are you doing anything on the edge since those edges are not going to be seen?
Yeah, I'm just going to do a single crochet edging.
Cool.
And I would probably steam block. I don't like wet blocking. It's panic inducing.
No, Crystal, we did. It was great.
Yeah, it turned out great. I just the process. You know how people say trust the process? I did not.
She did not.
Oh my God. I trusted Lisa, but I did not trust the process because she was my blocking guru, my blockmeister, I called her, and she walked me through it. But I did not trust the process at all.
Just go easy on the steam because acrylic doesn't like heat.
Yeah. But those are my plans for blocking. Do you think I should wet block it? I don't know if I can wet block again so soon.
Oh, it's gonna be all right. But you know what? I would block it before you sew it together.
Yeah.
So everything will be nice and square.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's my open-sided vest. Now I changed the stitch pattern. I'm just basically using the dimensions from the original pattern.
Yeah.
So do I get to name it?
Of course.
My own thing? Okay.
Even if you follow
open-sided vest is so boring.
Even if you follow the pattern stitch by stitch, you have the right to name it. You made that thing.
Okay. It's gonna give me a name.
Sure.
That's where I am on my current whip. What you got working on over there?
Okay, I'm gonna pull my sock out.
That sounds funny.
I made a tiny bit of progress on it, but I really haven't been working on it. I think I knitted exactly 3 rounds this week. So I've got the front end of a sock still. But I am going to try to get this one done and out of the way. Yeah, I just put it back on.
Okay, when she tried to teach me how to knit, I lived in mortal terror of dropping stitches with the stitches coming off the needles. And it's one of the things that I found I worried about it so much, I don't think I could enjoy knitting for that reason alone.
You know what? If your stitches come off, like this one right here, right? I just put it back on the needle, but I see the yarn is there. So I'm just going to reknit that one stitch when I get to it. That's all. There's the yarn for it. I'm going to reknit the stitch below and then knit the next
And she
stitch.
showed me how to fix a drop stitch, and I was just like, sorcery.
That's what she actually said. She said sorcery.
I'm like, shouldn't work.
That's Superba Vintage. Love,
Another
love, love,
yarn I
love.
absolutely love. That's another new yarn from Universal.
Well done, Universal. I appreciate you.
I mean, it's a Rico Design is a German company, and Universal's becoming a distributor. So.
Yeah, but
and we named those the Blossom Socks.
Yes.
At least it just made up her own pattern.
Oh, and if you want to know how to do that, I wrote out my basic sock recipe, and it's on our blog now. And you can find our blog at knitsheep.com. There you go.
We need a sound effect for when we do that.
No, you can just do that every time. You can just do that every time. It'll be a hoot. It'll be a feature. What else you got?
Well, I try to be a monogamous crocheter. So most of the time, I would say like 90% of the time I am. However,
that's true.
I'm working on the Impossible dress. It's at a very fine gauge, and it's, a lot of fabric. So I built in bricks. I work on it a little bit, and then I go to another project, and I go back to it.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, I still have that going. But right now, my active project is the best, but I have some acquisitions.
Ooh.
So I just got some yarn that I'm so excited about because it's beautiful. It is from a dyer called Haute knit. And I've actually been subscribed to her mailing list for like maybe 2.5 years. And this is the first time I've ordered anything from her because you can't always justify the expense. But this was a tweed yarn. I love tweed yarns, and I have 0 tweed yarn in my stash. So that was all the justification I needed.
There you go.
To make this purchase, and I have no regrets. So this is from Haute knit.
Oh, look at that. Yeah.
And it's beautiful raspberry color. So the color is called Girl Friday, and the base is called Betsy Tweed Sock, and it's 85% superwash merino and 15% nylon. It feels amazing. Honestly, it feels like it has silk in it, even though it doesn't.
Yeah, it has that silky smoothness.
And
oh, that is nice.
I'm in love.
Girl Friday.
She actually had a purple color that I wanted, but she only had 2 skeins left of that, and she had 4 left of this. So that's what it happened. But because I knew I wanted to make a sweater, and I know that I actually want to do a cabled sweater. Ooh. So I needed at least 4 skeins because that's going to take a little bit of extra yarn. And I'm talking real big right now. I've never done a cabled sweater. But you know what? Like, I kept seeing what I felt were like the same cables over and over again. Yeah. So I found a book that's going to help me do a really cute cabled pattern. And so I'm hoping 4 skeins is enough. It might end up being a short sleeve sweater if the cables take up a lot of my yarn, but that's fine. But yeah, I just found this book. I just went to Amazon and typed in crochet cables, and look what popped up. Bang!
And that is 50 crochet cables.
Yeah, it's 50 crochet cable stitches, and it is by, I think her name is Manuela White something. Her name is somewhere in here.
Oh, there it is.
Manuela Leitenberger. But it has, I mean, if you can see the ones on the cover, those are really cool. It's exactly what the title says. It's 50 cable patterns, but they're not all the same. They don't all look like each other. Like you change one thing and now you have a different one. Yeah. She really put some thought into all the different designs.
So it's basically a stitch dictionary specifically for cables. Nice.
And I think they're gonna look really good at fingering weight. I'm always surprised when people choose to do cables at worsted weight. Mm-hmm. They don't look bad, but I always see them and think, oh my God, that would look great. Yeah. At a lighter weight. So I want to, try to play around with that. I'm going to do a little bit of swatching, and these are done on a single crochet background instead of double crochet. That's another thing that people typically do their cables on a double crochet fabric. So I also like how the cables pop more when you're working on a single crochet background. I haven't seen a lot of people doing that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not saying no one is, but I just haven't come across it. So this whole book, all the patterns are done on a single crochet fabric. So imagine the cables and in this yarn. What?
Yes.
Could not be any more excited.
And I know you love a single crochet fabric, so that's perfect for you. Yeah.
Especially, you use a fine yarn and a fine hook.
So it's all excitement now, but wait till she gets going.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's like, like when people like make something for a person and they try to like put all their good thoughts and wishes into it as they're making it. My sweaters don't have that.
No, they don't.
I weave like frustration and profanity into every garment I make.
Just a pinch.
But it's fine, because you know what? That just makes them uniquely mine.
Yes, and you get over it at the end. It's like, oh,
I do.
Great. The first time you wear it, you just like
they're like a cleansing.
Yes.
So we'll see how that goes. But don't ask me when I'm going to get to this, because the Q. The Q is a monster. It is a beast. It is the Mangler coming after me.
And Stephen King fans, y'all know what I'm talking about. What she's talking about, yes.
So I actually wrote out my Q. And on the one hand, it was great because it made me feel a little bit more organized. And now I know what things I want to work on, what things I still need to choose yarn for. That's like the important thing. But on the other hand, I'm like, are you crazy? Like, you think you're going to make all of this?
What are you thinking?
The Q. My Q is so big, it needs an RNS after it.
Oh,
it's just like, it's getting to be an alphabet unto itself.
Well done. I really only look at the next 2, maybe 3 things, because I get overwhelmed if I don't.
I really wish I could do that.
Like, there we go. That's it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that.
Because I just get so excited about everything.
Oh, me too. Oh, and while I'm in the middle of something, I will get excited about something else and have to fight myself. No, don't do it. Don't do it.
So you had a couple of books that you wanted to talk about.
I do. I mentioned last week that, there's certain books that I would just have in my library, even if I didn't have several books that are about knitting. I have a few. But if I had to pare it down and I just had to like cut like ruthlessly, I have like 4 or 5 that I'd be like, okay, these are the ones. So I actually bought this first book when I first started knitting, like back in 2010, 2011. About that time, let me see, because it was a brand new book at that time. Let me see if I can see what year. Well, it was new to me. Yeah. Actually, this one came out in 2005. I thought it was new that year, but it wasn't. This is a knitting answer book. So I need you guys to kind of picture it. I literally didn't know anybody who knit. So I had no one to ask questions of. And when I started knitting, it was just before YouTube was a thing. So there weren't like 10 million videos to go from. And I found that it answered all the questions I had.
Well, answer book.
And it's arranged in a Q&A format. I mean, the light's kind of blurring that out. But here's one I just opened to at random. I've been working a slip stitch pattern, but the rows are so tight, I can hardly go on. Why? The same kind of questions I would have. Edge stitches. What are edge stitches? Okay. Do I have to slip the first stitch of every row? Because, it's things you hear, people mention, or, you could also use this to kind of learn how to knit, like basic knitting instruction. And it's really arranged well so that you can actually find the question that you might have.
And so it's a really convenient pocket size.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You can carry that in your project bag.
Yeah, it was in my project bags for a long time. So binding off the tools you might need, casting on, and it's all arranged by subject. So you can just go directly to the issue you're having a problem with, and it'll give you a detailed explanation of what to do. Why is that happening? Because it's the why questions that.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
So it shows you the care symbols for how to take care of the yarn, and I wish more people thought we needed that information, because the little pictures mean nothing to me.
Some of them are really obscure. Okay. Some of them. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like, you can an iron with an X through it. All right, I got that one, but some of them.
It's like this one is there a difference between skeins and balls? And these are the questions. Now, you would think that this is really for like really, really beginner people, but there's questions that any level of knitter might have. So there are questions that very, very beginners would ask, like, what's an end stitch? Do I have to, because you think you might have to do something different to that stitch because you have no idea. But so this is my first one, the knitting answer book. My next one is Knit Speak, because once I kind of got the basic how to knit, I was still knitting backwards at that point, but I got it. I was making fabric. Then I started, working with knitting patterns. Now, up to that point, I had been working with crochet patterns, and I could understand what crochet patterns were telling me, but knitting has its own language.
Knitting patterns look nothing like crochet.
They have their own language. And this book is like having, the universal translator for knitting. So it goes from pattern reading basics to, and it's also alphabetical, so you can just look up. So let's say there's a phrase, like at the same time. How do we like that when we see in a pattern? Do this, but at the same time, do that. Not only does it explain how to do that, it gives you a method for keeping track of what you're doing at the same time. How to do the backwards loose cast on, how to measure gauge, all of that kind of stuff. But it literally has, and the best part, it explains the syntax of how knitting patterns are written so that you can translate knit speak into what the instructions actually are. Because sometimes just the way things are phrased, it's like, am I going to, I'm coming to the last few stitches in a row. Am I knitting that second to last stitch? Or am I actually, the last stitch I'm knitting is the third one from the end, and I leave two.
That's like in crochet, am I working in the first stitch, or am I working to one right next to it? Or,
Exactly. And this explains to you what that instruction actually means, so you can actually knit into the right stitch. So yes, if you're having trouble with actually reading and understanding knitting patterns, this is the one for you. And this is also in that convenient size that will fit in your project bag. And they were thoughtful enough to include a ruler.
That is super cute.
On the end. So if the pattern happens to be one of those that says, knit 3 inches, you could actually use this book and measure your 3 inches.
That's really cute.
So just thoughtful little details. Love, love, love. So then I got into knitting socks. And one of the books I used in my year of learning how to make socks was the Sock Knitters Workshop. So what this is a compendium of all kinds of different ways to make toes and heels and cuffs. You can actually work your way. You can do toe up, top down, what have you. 2 circular needles, all the different needle configurations, and you work through it like a workshop. So
did you follow it in that order?
I did. Because it gave me a really good foundation, because I feel like once you kind of have the architecture of a sock or the architecture of any project in your head, it's easier to follow the directions, because some of the directions are so line by line-ish that it's hard to see where you are. Right? Yeah. But if you know, well, you have to do this. If I'm going toe up, you have to start with the toe. Let's say you don't like the toe they're describing to you in the pattern, because most patterns don't tell you, well, you're doing this particular toe right here.
Mm-hmm.
It'll say cast on some number of stitches in some way, and then you go from there one stitch at a time. But if you know the star toe fits your foot the best, you can just make the star toe on the tip of any sock you want and then follow the patterning for the rest of the sock.
So for you, socks are almost like modular.
Yeah,
you just put the different pieces together any way you like.
Right. So sometimes I generally don't use a pattern to make a sock, but I will see a stitch pattern I like, and I'll just lift that out of the pattern that I saw, because I can just plop it on a sock is a tube. I'm just going to tell you, a sock is a tube. Okay?
Well, it's like two tubes, though, that come together at the heel.
Actually, it's one tube, because you can knit a sock straight from cuff to toe or toe to cuff, and then put the heel in last. Because everybody gets confused by that little angle that it bends at. But no, it's a tube.
Oh, I've seen people who've made really like complex, beautiful sweaters that are still like put off by socks.
Yeah. And I'll tell anybody that is put off by making sweaters, if you've made a sock, you have all the skills you need to make a sweater. It's just bigger. Because when you think about it, the basic body plan, the sweater is a tube. The sleeves are two tubes. You can do it. And then speaking of you can do it. So then I wanted to start making garments, and I just had absolutely no idea. So I got this book. Actually, this is the second one. This is the first one was called something about knit style or knit to fit. I forget. But this one is Knit Wear Love. Now, what this is about is making your garments custom to you.
See, and I don't feel like anyone is having that same conversation with crocheters. Like, you can find some things here and there, but definitely not on the level of some of the knitting books I've seen. So, like, my mom is using knitting books to do her designing, and I'm going to take a look at some of Lisa's knitting books. She has so many to choose from to do some of my designing.
I don't know,
but I don't know. This is not how people are speaking to crocheters, and
well, honestly, for a long time, it really wasn't how people were talking to knitters either. But I have always been bigger than standard. So especially in the bad old days when I started knitting, there weren't any, I'm not going to say there weren't any, but there were not enough sweater patterns that were made to my size, like from the get-go.
Right.
And then everybody has unique things about their body. So if you wanted to customize a sweater, like if you look at my shoulders, they're not particularly wide. I don't have wide square shoulders like somebody I know.
I was about to say, I do. Compared to my waist, my shoulders are ridiculous.
Yes.
She has mom's shoulders. I have dad's shoulders.
Yes. So
I'm not self-conscious about them anymore, though.
Oh, no. And I'm not self-conscious about mine.
I know I was. When I was younger.
No.
I told you that story. This girl came up to me in school.
Oh, yeah.
And asked me. She was like, oh, are you wearing shoulder? And she dropped off the sentence. She didn't finish the word. She was asking if I was wearing shoulder pads. But she stopped talking when she realized I wasn't, because she tapped my shoulder. And then she just walked past me. And that made me feel like, oh, I look like I'm wearing shoulder pads, and I'm not. I'm a freak. And so I used to have a thing about my shoulders, but I don't anymore. So
there you go. But one of the neat things about this book, not only does it tell you precisely how and where to measure yourself, because it's super important, but it tells you how to alter for whatever shape you happen to have. You don't alter you alter the clothes. And I think once you approach things with that attitude, you can make things fit you very, very nicely.
I see.
And that's what she says when she gets interested in the book. Like, oh, for fun. So, and she tells you specifically You don't like a neckline too wide because, like me, you don't have a lot of shoulder up here. So a lot of necklines are actually too wide for me. You can narrow that neckline.
Elise used to make fun of me because when I started making garments and patterns, I did not like to alter a single thing about the pattern because I was just like, okay, these are the instructions, and this person knows how to make the sweater, and I don't. So I used to follow instructions very precisely, even if there were things about that particular sweater that I didn't like, because I didn't know how to do alterations. I was still learning how to make garments. I was still trying to understand construction.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been great to have some things like this, but I still, you know what, I'm happy with the way I did it. I really just got a lot of confidence making certain things first, and now I'm ready to do alterations and make my own things and change up the shapes of my garments.
So I think if you were only going to have a couple of books in your library, something about creating your garments custom to you. If you like to make socks, get a sock book. And basic instruction and technique books. This one tells you what they really mean when they say things in a pattern, in that odd pattern speak way. Translates it to English for you. And basic questions that you might have about how you're doing things and why. Like, until you memorize how to do the mattress stitch, it's written down in here. And what I like about this book too is that it gives you a couple of ways to do whatever you need to do. Mm-hmm. So there's a way for everybody.
Cool. So, what we were just speaking about, not having the confidence to do those kinds of alterations. Mm-hmm. It's funny because I would never have purchased this book if I wasn't feeling a little bit more confident in designing my own things and creating the shapes that I want to create. Right. So I just bought this book. It's called Old Fashioned Doilies to Crochet, and it's edited by Rita Weiss, and she has a stitch dictionary that actually was the stitch dictionary that I used when I was learning how to read patterns. That's what I started with. I started with stitch dictionaries because I didn't have to worry about making a garment or making a certain shape. I could just read the instructions for doing the stitch pattern. Right. And so when I started with patterns for garments, so many terms were familiar. I already knew what the asterisk meant and what the parentheses and the brackets meant. So that just made things a lot easier to start with. But, I've been saying I wanted to work more with crochet thread, and, doilies look at that one on the cover. It has this beautiful pattern. And what I like about the doilies is that they combine open and closed sections really nicely. Now, how I would translate these from something that's in the round to something that's going to be, worked in rows, I have no idea. But I feel like I can figure that out.
Oh, yeah.
And so I want to just start playing around with some swatches because I just got some crochet thread from Universal. We're not sponsored by them or anything, but I really like their yarns.
Yeah.
So I just picked up some crochet thread for a song, and I want to start swatching with it because I haven't worked with crochet thread probably since I first learned how to crochet. I think I made one doily once. Yeah. Because, my grandmother made them, and, I wanted to crochet because I saw her crocheting. But it's been decades since I touched crochet thread. In fact, I have it and I'm almost a little intimidated by it. I'm almost like, can I really do that? I bought some steel hooks. I'm ready to go. But I'm like, I don't know if I can actually do this.
What? If you want to kind of work your way through it, work your way down to it, start with the linen and silk that we have, because it's got that texture to it, but it's just a little bit bigger.
Well, I think I want to start with swatches, before I try to make anything like a garment. And this just will give me some ideas to play around with.
And let me save you some time. We also have the crochet answer book, and there is a discussion about switching from in the round to flatten and
really?
There is one in here, so I imagine there's one in there.
I hope so, because I will have to check that out. I'll check out the knitting version if there isn't one in the crochet book, because I'm not entirely sure how I will be doing that. Yeah. But
we have the
I feel like I can figure it out, and that's the thing. I'm now feeling like, okay, I can figure these things out.
Mhm.
I'm feeling ready to customize a little bit.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, other people's ideas are fun and I love seeing what other people are doing, but that's not all I want to do. I want to be able to express my own ideas. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah. Fascinating.
You all will be here for all the ups and downs.
You sure will. The agony and the ecstasy.
Mm.
I think that's it for our books today because I talked about mine, you talked about yours. Oh.
Yep.
You want me to show them the new issue of Pom Pom? We can't open the book, but we can show you the cover.
It will be on sale Thursday, though. That's the 11th.
Yeah.
Oh, tomorrow. Yeah.
Tomorrow.
We film on Wednesdays.
Pom Pom goes on the new Pom Pom, issue 39, I believe it is. The rhythm issue goes on sale tomorrow.
I really love the sweater on the cover.
Yes.
And there's a crochet sweater in there that is super cute.
I particularly like the texture of it and the sleeve shape.
Yes.
Something about that sleeve shape I find very attractive. So yes, there's something in here for crocheters too. I'm going to tell you about this issue. I have looked through my copy because I'm excited. It introduces, it's called Rhythm, and all of the patterns, they really embody the theme. You know, sometimes there's tenuous connections, but this time, absolutely. And interesting techniques. So if you really wanted to take this winter and maybe explore new techniques, definitely.
Yeah, because the crochet sweater definitely would be challenging just because it involves some slip stitches, and I don't mess with slip stitches like that, y'all. So I mean, I think it would be worth it because it really is a very beautiful sweater. But even the crochet patterns in there, I know they are what I would call advanced intermediate.
Yes.
So
do check it out if you want to push your envelope a little bit. Super cool stuff. We will put a link to our shop. We do carry this one in our shop in the description bar.
But I like that about Pom Pom because,
yeah,
you know, they're not doing like really advanced patterns for knitters, but then really simplistic patterns for crocheters. They're treating the crocheters just like they're treating the knitters, and I respect that about Pom Pom.
Go Pom Pom. Actually, I like their books overall.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed them. I got Embody last year, and I have a couple of copies of that left. I actually have the yarn to make one of the sweaters from Embody, so that's going to be one of my projects for the winter. I'm going to do my Embody sweater. I did want to talk about a movie I watched this week. I watched it actually. I got it very early. I think it was yesterday morning. No, it was the day before. Got very early, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get some knitting done, and I'm going to watch a movie. And I started watching The Harder They Fall. It's kind of a fun Western. Very.
Tell them why you watched it, Lisa.
You see, what happened was Idris Elba is my man in my head. So I am very supportive of all his work.
Anything that he's in.
Yes. I have to make sure my man stays employed.
Wait, was he trying to do like an American accent in it?
No.
Okay,
not really. He doesn't do a good American accent.
No. What I know in The Wire, it was dreadful. I don't know if it's come along anymore, but
you know what? He's British. Okay, and I accept that. He is British.
I was just wondering. I was like, ooh.
So because my man in my head was in it, I was like, and I love Regina King.
Yeah,
so she's also my cousin in my head. So I will watch pretty much whatever she's in too, because I gotta support my cousin.
None of this is strange.
None whatsoever. So when a movie has both my cousin in my head and my man in my head, I'm there for it. So if you like Westerns, this is a traditional Western. Okay? There is bang, bang, shoot 'em up, ride the horse, look good while riding a horse, flowing coat, cool hats. So yes, if you love all the elements of a Western, there is a revenge tale. There is a love story. It was just a fun movie, and the music is hot.
Okay.
The music was really
Good
good.
recommendation.
So, as we are pulling in to the station, there was a stagecoach robbery, a train robbery, a bank robbery, all the things you like about Westerns. As we're pulling into the station, so to speak, of the movie, we have reached the apex. The revenge tale is almost at its conclusion. The internet goes out across the country, and I am dropped right out of my movie.
Oh no!
Oh yes!
See, I slept through the internet outage. I was not affected by it at all.
I was ever so slightly affected. So I don't know how the revenge is gonna go.
So you still haven't seen the end?
Oh no, I saw the end
okay.
later that day.
Okay.
But it was touch and go for a while there. So I'm on my phone, right? Because I'm checking my internet. I reset the router. My internet is fine. My Wi-Fi is golden. Turns out it was Comcast that was down.
They just snatched interest from your clutches.
They sure did.
No.
I got on my phone, had to switch it off the Wi-Fi, get back onto data, and I checked Twitter to see what's up. And across
everyone's first news source,
the country. Well, you couldn't go to Comcast. Mm-hmm. The outage map wasn't going to work because everybody was telling me, "Oh, the outage map isn't working." Oh, they couldn't answer the phone at Comcast headquarters, so it doesn't pay to call them. All people were getting. I didn't know about any of this. It was just they were just getting cut off, and then people were piping up and saying, "Hey, my cable and phone are out. How about you?" And I'm in this place. So I knew from California to Chicago to a couple of other places in between, Rhode Island, parts of New York, and a good bit of Philadelphia and New Jersey had absolutely no phone or internet. And it was really, I was like a little like perturbed because, I was spending some time with my man in my head. And but there were people who were trying to work from home, and they couldn't even call their boss.
That's real issues,
to tell them, "Hey, it's a no-go." But it lasted for me for about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, and then I reset everything, and because people started saying, "Okay, I've come back," I was like, "Let me check." And I still had 15 minutes.
You were able to finish your date.
Yes, I was. I was able to finish my date. Who's interest? What are you talking about? But I was like right there. I was like, oh no. Okay. But overall, it was really fun. One of the interesting things about it was that the main characters were all real people. Mm-hmm. So if you're interested in the history of Black people in the West, there's a little roster of names of people you can pick out who are on both sides of the law. Mm-hmm. There's a common ones that everybody knows, like Nat Love. But I did not know about Stagecoach Mary. So I'm going to be looking up Stagecoach Mary.
I had no idea any of that happened.
Oh, yes. The drama.
Indeed. Well, I'm glad you were able to finish your date.
Thank you. Thank you
very much. So it had a happy ending.
It did.
Okay. My television viewing has not been anywhere near as eventful. I can tell you that. I'm just watching my umpteenth Korean drama.
That's the hard fall.
Right now I'm watching Lawless Lawyer. When I started watching Korean dramas, I was really into the romance. Romances were what got me into Korean dramas, and I watched them all. But now I'm into like the crime thrillers and the corruption stories and things like that. And the one I'm watching now, Lawless Lawyer, has like some comedy to it as well because the main character is really goofy and he's got a really goofy team behind him. They're very funny. But it's still, a story about corruption and revenge and, But this small town is just a hotbed of child. The judge is killing people. The mayor is killing people. It is crazy.
You know what? Every small town that you see in a show they're eccentric to say the least.
To say the very
Okay.
least. But yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Okay, so that's 2 picks for you when you're knitting or crocheting to just have going. And mine does not have subtitles.
It's challenging, but it can be done.
It can be done. Just, pay really close attention to your chart.
I'm not going to watch anything with subtitles when I'm doing cables, though.
That, you know what? That is sound advice.
Because you had subtitles where you were doing your chart, and yeah.
That's it.
So they say a smart person learns from their own mistakes, a wise person learns from the mistakes of others. So I'm going to be wise and learn from her mistakes.
There you go.
And work my complex stuff when I'm watching something in English.
There you go. Maybe listen to an audiobook. Maybe. You got anything else for today?
No, I think I'm good.
I think that's it for us today. We'll see you next week. Have a great day,
Same
everybody.
time, same crochet channel.
I like that.